Welcome everybody to our second Say Hey To event. Really great to see so many of you here. I'm Zoe. I am a very proud member of the talent team here at the Lego Group and your host for this session. We'll be continuing the International Women's Day discussions this month, and today we will be talking to some of our awesome women in the engineering teams. Here you can take a look at who will be joining me on the screen, and we'll first spend time getting to know each of our speakers and what their roles are at the Lego Group before opening up into a panel discussion. I'd just like to draw your attention to the chat function. Feel free to share any comments in there. And if you have a question, use the Ask a Question function, which is at the bottom of your screen. And we'll get to some of those questions in the discussion. Of course, if you've got a particular question for one of our speakers while they're on screen, feel free again to use the Ask a Question function and add their name in there. We would absolutely love to hear from you. This is why we're here as well. So please get those questions in. Hello, guys. I hope you can all see me now. And to get the interaction going in the chat, can we start by asking you to tell us where in the world you're joining us from today? Me, I'm joining you all from a stormy looking London. Here we've got Riga on screen. She will be the first speaker. Thanks for joining us, Riga. And where are you joining us from?
Well, I'm in Vejle right now, but I normally sit in Billund, Denmark.
Nice. And for those of you who don't know, our Lego headquarters are based in Billund in Denmark. So thanks, Riga. I guess to start with, can we hear a little about you and what you do at the Lego Group?
Yes, of course. My background is engineering in integrated design. And for the last 10 plus years, I've worked with implementing new technologies regarding product development. First outside Lego, and 6 years ago, I joined the Lego Group. I work as a mechanical engineer with a lot of different assignment projects, primarily within developing and 3D drawing element bricks to fit into new mold concept technologies. And now I'm joining the Lego Group's journey according sustainability. Brilliant. So yeah, what I love in this job is actually to see how the brick I worked on becomes reality. Yeah, and what I can do with the Lego Group is to create, develop, and rethink. That's all possible for me to do in my job at the Lego Group.
Brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. And I know that you have a family and you certainly come with this cool mum status. How do you explain what you do in your job to your son?
Well, yeah, first of all, these days I work from home, but I also did that sometimes earlier. And then he, of course, could see how I'm drawing elements on my screen, right? The 3D parts. And then when we play with the bricks, sometimes I tell him, hey, see, I actually draw this element. And that he also, sometimes he also asks me when he's playing with his Lego bricks whether I've been drawing this or not. And he also tells his friends which ones I draw. And the cool thing is that they actually also go further on and tell their parents. So sometimes I had some questions from their parents, and they think it's a really cool job. So yeah, that makes me proud.
That's so nice. I can imagine him at school talking to his friends about Lego sets his mum has helped making. That's
exactly.
And I'm just looking here, we've got some people from San Francisco, we've got Denmark in the house, we've got New York, Billund, of course, we've got Turkey, and we've got some other people in Denmark too. So thanks for sharing those. Keep them coming. And in our previous conversation, Riga, you mentioned that you've been given the opportunity to develop yourself. Can you share more around this for our viewers?
Yeah, at the Lego Group, it's possible to develop personally as well as professional. So what Lego actually do is to encourage you to think about where you want to be as a professional within 2 years as well as 5 years. And then they help you focusing on reaching those goals within an individually development plan. So yeah, I get the opportunity to join different courses, and then by this getting a better toolbox, you can say, so that I can grab from through my daily work. And also we have a lot of different specialists within Lego. So if I have some questions or things I don't know, it's easily for me, I can easily reach out to a colleague and getting the relevant information or help on assignments. And that, also makes me receive some more knowledge, right? So that's the cool thing also, that we have a lot of different specialists within Lego.
Yeah, it's really awesome that you've got your development plan mapped out. So you've got a clear path that you're working towards.
Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned in your intro just then that you're a part of the team supporting the Lego Group sustainability agenda. What does this mean, and what part are you playing in that?
Well, yeah, it's a bit confidentiality within this question, but you can say it's help. Yeah, the Lego Group helps the world become a better place, you can say, right, for our children and their children and so on, by, for example, reducing the CO2, and also I'm helping out with the elements to be more green, you can say. So I can't tell you that much about it, but yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing what you can. And at the Lego Group, we've got big plans for our sustainability journey.
Yeah.
And I guess a side note for our audience and anyone looking to learn more about our sustainability agenda, you can do so on lego.com. Well, thanks for chatting with us, Rigga. We're going to have you join us again later, rather, for our panel discussion. But
Thank
right
you.
now, we're going to learn more about our next speaker, Anna. So as if by magic, Anna will hopefully be appearing on our screen. And here she is. Hey, Anna, great to have you join.
Hi, thanks so much.
Can you share a little about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been working at Lego for the last 2 years. I'm originally from the US, and I am a design engineer for the additive manufacturing team at the Lego Group. And so additive manufacturing is a fancy term for 3D printing, and it's called additive because we're literally growing parts layer by layer. So I'm responsible for designing and researching new functional 3D printed features for Lego elements, consulting with design leads throughout Lego on how to design for AM and additive manufacturing, and running experiments on our machines.
Brilliant, thank you. I know additive manufacturing was certainly a new term for me, and it would be great if you could share what additive manufacturing means, I guess, at the Lego Group. And I know that you're working on these pioneering cutting edge technologies. And if you could share a little on these technologies too, and how they're contributing to the products.
Sure, so there's two main tracks that additive manufacturing AM makes an impact. One is through our consumer goods track, which is another name for Lego elements. And another is through printing jigs and fixtures for production. So more specifically on our AM for consumer goods, in 2018, we printed our first inbox element, which was this old-fashioned drawing arm, which is part of this Lego Inside tour set. And this element used a spring internal to the part to allow it to articulate like a real architect's drawing arm. And so it's kind of these special, unique features that you can only get with AM versus injection molding. But in our research and development, we think about how we can create an impact through potential customization, consolidating features, multi-material, and just looking at unique geometries. It's a lot of research right now. And then as far as production goes, we have printed parts for holding elements in place while paint is being applied to it, and having a fixture on the end of a robotic arm that grips a tire once it pops out of an injection molding machine. And the real impact here is we're able to print fixtures quickly. We have software that allows us to optimize the design while using less material, and we'll still maintain the same strength. So it's a real revolutionary technology. Yeah.
Wow, it must be pretty exciting working on this progressive technology. And
Yeah.
I know that's, thank you for sharing that part, because I know that a lot of the work that you do is highly confidential. It must be hard sometimes working on top secret projects and pioneering techniques that are at the pinnacle of your industry and that so many are keen to find out about.
Yeah, I think what makes it hard is there isn't an instruction manual of, here, this is how you use the machine and press a button and print the part. It's because we're pushing these additive manufacturing machines to produce parts with very tight tolerances. It's like we're creating our own instruction manual. So there's a lot of experimenting involved. And we're looking at, how do we orient this part for the best strength? And how do we change our machine settings? How is that going to impact the part? And then how should I make a design compensations to this original design so that the physical part is the same as the one-to-one part? So it's like it's like a puzzle, but it's really exciting. Yeah.
I just noticed, Anna, we have our first question. And it is, how do you optimize materials with additive manufacturing processes?
Optimize materials? Is that what it said? Sorry.
Yeah, that's our question. How do you optimize materials with additive manufacturing processes?
That's an interesting question. So, I'm more focusing in optimizing the design for AM. And currently we're just working with 2 different materials, which I can't disclose. So sorry, I can't talk more to that question.
Okay, no problem. I guess something you are able to share. Recently, it was revealed that there is going to be a book released about the secret life of Lego bricks. And there's going to be an exclusive minifigure accessory add-on that's 3D printed. Can you give us some insider info on the minifigure accessory that you've been working on?
Yeah, so this accessory, which is a surprise, it uses the material, the compliance of that material to create a unique spring function. And the technology we use to print this is a selective laser sintering machine, which is a fancy word for saying this is a machine that's like an oven, right? And it's basically sintering layers of powder. So to create your final part. So in this design, we had to create like unique openings in order for like powder to flow through, and which is like a different way of thinking to injection molding. So this is a part that is unlike all other Lego elements. I can say that much. Yeah.
Sounds exciting, and thanks for giving our viewers here a sneak peek of what that is. We have another question that's come through, Anna. And hopefully you can answer this one. For the inbox element, which was 3D printed drawing arm, how many elements were printed at a time in a single batch?
Oof, a very specific question. I don't think I have the per batch quantity on that element. And in full transparency, it was printed a year before I was hired. But I think in total we made maybe 500 to 1,000 of those parts for the special Lego Inside Tour set. Yeah, but if you can imagine, the part itself is about this big, and the build volume is about this big. So, yeah, sorry.
Great to put it into context.
Yeah, thanks.
And Anna, it sounds like you're really proud of the work that you're doing, and thanks so much for sharing that with us. And with the questions, guys, great that we've had 2 questions come in. We've got another one coming as well. So please keep those coming. It'd be great to get those answered from you all. Anna, we're going to see you later in the panel. But right now, let's bring up on screen Celia. And Celia should be appearing any moment. Don't leave me hanging, Celia. There we are. Thanks for joining us.
Sure, thank you for having me.
Please, can you share with us your job title and what that means at the Lego Group?
Yes, so my job title is called Director for Test Design and Qualification, and it's a very long title, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm a part of the engineering organization called MAC. So, at Lego, in the Lego Group, we love abbreviations, and we love like super long title that we squeeze into 3 letters. So I work in an organization called MAC, and it stands for Molding Analytics Center. And we are the global platform owners of the molding process. And maybe you want to know a little bit more about what does that mean.
Yes, please.
So, you know, in the Lego group, we are using different materials, and we have up to, I think, around 1,000 molding machines in the world. And when we actually get a new material, or when we are working with maybe a different supplier from an existing material, we need to define sort of how do we mold with that material. So if the way I explain it to my kids, it's like making waffles. When you make waffle, you have your batter, and it's liquid, which is more or less your plastic, which is liquid. And you get it into a mold, and you want it to solidify. But depending on your batter, you're going to need a different temperature, different humidity, maybe a different oven. And that's what we do in Mac. So we try to find what's the right oven, the humidity, the temperature to make the best waffle.
Great analogy for us non-engineers. Much easier to understand now. And Celia, I know that you studied mechanical and production engineering.
Yes.
And also that when you completed your thesis for your master's, you chose wind power. And in your bio, you mentioned that whilst working in this, you were the first woman, the first foreigner, and the youngest engineer at the company, and actually often mistaken for the secretary.
Yeah.
And I wondered, how did this make you feel, and how did it shape the person that you are today?
Oh, that's a great question. So, you know, it was very intimidating. When I came to Denmark, I actually couldn't speak a word of English. So that was one of the reasons why I came here 15 years ago. And I was still having a pretty thick French accent, which I still do. I was way worse back then. And, you know, entering that company and being sort of that junior in every aspect, I actually really had to sort of put my foot down. I didn't at that point really know how. So sometimes I came a bit strong. And I've learned, you know, 15 years later to be a lot more moderate on my way to do it. But, you know, sort of putting my foot down and also, you know, claiming my space on maybe bringing a different side of engineering, a different side of profile than maybe other candidates or other engineers were bringing in the company. So sometimes a bit too loud, sometimes maybe a bit too French, but putting my foot down and showing who I was.
Yeah, but please, you kept your identity, as everyone should.
And that's what it has shaped, basically. It's just, you know, being clear on who I am and not necessarily compromising too much on that.
Absolutely. And great to hear that, Celia. And we spoke about that when you landed your first role after completing your thesis, you had a mentor. And I wanted to know, how important is mentorship and role models for women and girls in engineering?
That's an excellent question. And yes, that's true. I had a mentor at that point, and I actually realized, thinking back, that I've always had mentors. In my case, my mentors have very often been sort of father figures. So usually men in their 50s and 60s. And they have sort of been, you know, spiritual fathers along my life. And I've really always had someone that I could spare with. And they've played a major role on making me reflect on things I wouldn't think about by myself. And actually, there is a great podcast from Michelle Obama on mentorship, which I really recommend, and how that relationship actually contributes to both sides. But actually, mentorship, it's one thing, but also for sure, you know, the sparring that you can have also with other strong women have played a huge role also in my life.
Great. And I'm sure you continue to do some of that sparring at the Lego group, because it's very much welcomed here.
Absolutely.
You also have said that we have at the Lego group some of the most specialist engineers working in computer-aided engineering.
Yes.
And I wanted you to tell us, what part do they play in making the brick?
Yes. So I had the pleasure to lead that team in my previous job. And in my opinion, that those are the deepest specialists we have in the Lego group. And it's such a pleasure, but also a test of humility to work around so clever people, actually. And simulation is actually quite crucial, because it takes quite some time actually to come from the idea of a designer to have a brick in your hand. It takes time because we actually make all the tools in the Lego group to actually be able to make that brick. But to be able to be sure that you get to the right brick you want, you need to be able to simulate in the meantime on how your brick is going to look like, or will it resist basically the constraint that from the play with a child, or when it falls, or different scenarios that would actually sort of compromise potentially the integrity of the brick. And we need people to test that in a sort of digital environment before we have the brick in our hand. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of a really big safety net for us to make sure we get it right the first time. So we can fail in a digital environment and then get it right in the real world.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned they're working with such an intelligent and brilliant team. And you've also mentioned previously that you led a team of diverse project managers and engineers. And what does diversity mean to you and your team, and why is it important to have a diverse team?
Yes, so in my current team, I have 12 project managers and deep specialist engineers. And diversity for me means actually a lot of different things. It can be backgrounds, just the fact to have engineers and project managers. But even within engineering, the engineers I have are, mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, optical engineers. I have huge diversity there. It can also be, we are 4 nationalities at the moment. There's definitely a gender diversity, but it's also age. So that we actually don't always have actually only new hires that are necessary on the younger side out of school. It can also be people that have been working in the industry much longer and bring a different experience. So diversity is really many different aspects, and also a different profile between extroverts and introverts. That's also a diversity that we embrace.
Absolutely. And something that the Lego Group's really focusing on too is driving that diversity agenda forward.
Absolutely.
I think that we could speak all afternoon, Celia, but we're going to run out of time and we have a lot more to fit in. So we're going to have to leave it there, and then we'll have you join us again for the discussion. So thanks so much, Celia.
Likewise. Bye, Zoe.
Thank you. And now let's bring up our final speaker, Christina. Oh, and I can see we have New Delhi represented here as well. Awesome to see that. Hey, Christina, good to see you.
Hello, good to see you, Zoe.
Can you tell us a little about you and your role?
Yes, so I'm Christina Hansen, and I educated at the University of Southern Denmark in 2011 as a design engineer, and started working at Lego, and have now been doing that for 10 years actually, in many different roles, starting as an engineer, going over to project management, and now I'm a people leader, a senior leader for a team called Existing Element Development. What we do is working, as it says, with only existing elements actually, whether being it changing material, as Rega elaborated a little bit about in the beginning, for maybe sustainable materials, or working with existing elements on optimizing the element or changing a mold concept or whatever. So it's only within existing elements compared to our sister team who work with the novelty elements. So that is really interesting. And my team is a team of 9 really skilled engineers that are working with this every day. So that is a really cool journey that I've been on at Lego so far.
Absolutely. And I also know that when you started at Lego, you came in as an intern. So it's great to see how you've progressed. And one of your first roles was in a futuristic sounding title of a design engineer. Can you explain to our viewers the role of a design engineer at the Lego Group?
Yes. So yeah, I started at my internship in this really cool department called prototypes, and that is what we actually did, or what they are still doing, making hand prototypes for the front-end designers and front-end projects, being like Ninjago or Chima project and so on. So these really cool projects coming maybe in 4 years from now that we're working with. And that was both, making 3D CAD modeling and printing them, as Anna alluded to, on the 3D printers, but also actually simply just milling or drilling or doing something on the lathe, maybe making a wheel or something that can make a really cool effect on these prototypes, and making some really cool functions or shooters or something like that. And also actually basically could sometimes be to just cut up Lego into pieces and glue it together in another way to find total new ways to play with Lego. So and that also included being into testing, with kids, either in Denmark or Germany or or the US. So that was also a really big experience coming in as an intern, joining this Lego universe. So that is just has been a really great start of my career, I would say.
Yeah, what a cool way to start your career. Very,
Exactly.
very interesting. And actually, we've got a question that leads on quite well from that. So Camilla is asking, what is the best thing about working as a young engineer at Lego?
I would say that you are among some really skilled colleagues, no matter where you are, and that is just really nice to have role models everywhere you look around, both as Celia said, in age and gender and so on. There's so many role models to look to and be inspired of, and also I think the Lego DNA, what we call it, is also something based, on the Lego values and what we call the Lego brand framework is just also something to rely heavily on when you are young, because you get this really great start of your career by joining a big company like Lego, where the values is also so important. You feel safe and you feel secure, and thereby you can, unfold your potential fully, I would say. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Brilliant answer. Thanks for that. In one of our previous conversations, Christina, you talked about how you had attended Lego World and having the opportunity to drive forward our company mission, which is to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. Can you share with our audience what is Lego World, firstly, and what part did you play there?
Yes, of course. So I can say that Lego World is a fair that is held in Copenhagen every year in February. And then the fair is about a kind of 360-degree tour around the Lego experience, I would say, because it's both like digital experiences and it's physical experiences, and it's for, Duplo, the younger kids, but also system and technique, so the older kids. So it's really a place where also both the kids and the parents, can really come and have a day of true fun. And what we did in this was actually referring to what Anna is doing now. So the first year I was participating, we had a few 3D printers on the stand, and we are showing, the flow of how we develop Lego elements in a process flow, and using the 3D printers to kind of visualize. Okay, so this is when we draw a design or an element on a paper, and then suddenly we have it in our hands, and then we maybe do an iteration and make a new one and a new one and a new one. So that was really cool, and many people actually knew it back then already. But then the second year I was there, we had actually gone into a cooperation with Autodesk to make an app on an iPad that they could then actually design their own Lego elements, the children, and then they could have it printed afterwards, and made a really huge exhibition of, I think it was 500 Lego accessories for the minifigure hand, done by the kids entirely. So that was a really cool experience. All these really nice things that the kids was being creative about, and that was really really energetic. So a really nice experience.
What a fun event for you to be part of.
Yes.
And for the kids, I mean, I'm sure a fascinating intro to the world of 3D printing.
Yes, exactly. They could really imagine how it is also like to be a Lego designer themselves, right? Making their very own element and exhibiting it at Lego World for others to also see. This is the part that I did. So
yeah, and I'm sure inspiring some of them to look at careers in engineering.
Exactly.
And Christina, I know that you've taken on different roles over the years at the Lego Group. Tell us about your journey to become a project manager and a people leader.
Yes, so I worked as an engineer both in the prototypes area, as I said, for a few years, and then shifted over to a front-end design engineer, working with also really complex elements like shooters and so on, with a lot of functions in. And at some point, I could feel that I was taking on more and more responsibility in the projects that I was driving, almost more being a project manager. So I decided to apply for a job as a project manager in another department, actually the same that I'm in more or less now, in this big project of sustainable material. and I succeeded in that, and have been in different projects there, and having a quite steep learning curve, coming as a really deep specialist, as an engineer, and going to more a generalist role, right, as a project manager, needing to manage a project plan, and also driving both the business but also the people. And after a few years in a different projects as a project manager, I had the opportunity to take a maternity cover in our own department, because one of my colleagues were going on maternity leave. And that was a really nice way to try out this people leader role in a 10-month period, and see, okay, was this something for me or not? And it was a really great success, both for me and my boss and so on. So we agreed actually that I should continue on that. And now I have got the new role as a former leader of this really great team that I'm leading. So that's a really nice journey to develop yourself, right? As Rikke also alluded to, that was my individual development plan at Lego, to become a people leader in the future. And now I am.
Well, great that you had the opportunity to step up, and also great that it's worked out well for you.
Yes.
And it's something that you're choosing to pursue. So brilliant. Thanks, Christina. I think that now it's time to get everyone back on screen, and a chance for our audience here to get some of your questions answered. While we're getting everyone on screen, I've seen a comment from AJ Wilson. Thanks for this. We have been using milk bottle tops from the canteen and reusing for our 3D printers. Nice share there. Thanks, AJ. And hello, everyone is back with us. No, we're just waiting for Celia, I think. While we're waiting for Celia, I think to kick off, I want to take us back to why we're here today and put this question to the group. Why is it important for us to mark International Women's Day? And who would like to share some thoughts on this one? Celia? Yeah, sure, go for it.
Yeah, but I think that's a very, very good question, in the way that, in Denmark especially, we are actually quite a good symbol of equality. In Denmark, the difference of salaries are lower than in most countries. We are actually, a lot of the battles that you hear around the world on why marking International Day for Women is crucial, is actually maybe not as relevant in Danish society. But I think because we have that sort of a pioneer role in Denmark on the role of women and sort of our position in society, that's our duty also to continue the focus, so that we can actually inspire and spread actually the focus on women, and especially focus on young girls in schools in the world, and focus on salary equality. And, there are a lot of different aspects under that umbrella.
Absolutely. Yeah, Christina, add on.
Yeah, I just want to add on Celia, is because, I have a 1-year-old daughter, and I think what is important for me is also to see that, or to make her feel that she can fit in everywhere actually when she grows up. And I think that's a huge part of it for me also, as I can see myself fitting perfectly into engineering. And then I also want her to say it doesn't matter where I fit in, as long as I can see myself everywhere, and I have the free choice, to choose for myself.
Anna or Rikke, do you have anything else that you wanted to add on that one?
I think it was pretty much covered.
Cool. Okay. Well, Celia, you mentioned something there about salary discrepancy, and the campaign theme this year is Choose to Challenge, which is encouraging us to call out gender bias and inequality. And it would be interesting to hear what this means to you.
Yes.
To take this one, Celia, maybe you could start.
Sure. So, yes, as you said, this year's theme is Dare to Challenge, right? And I've been really reflecting a lot on what it means to challenge. And actually, after a few days of reflection, I'm landing on the fact that the most thing we have to change is ourselves as women. I've been a people leader for 13 years. I've been hiring men and women. To this day, I don't remember one woman that has ever negotiated a salary.
Right.
And it's, it's something that is just not something we do. And it's just maybe not something that we've been trained to do, and it's not something that we prioritize also when we are looking for a job, because we are looking a lot into the content, the values, the impact we can make, and maybe salary is very secondary. But we still have a value on the job market. And I think that's something that I would like to bring there is, dare to challenge yourself on your own bias, on your own value.
Brilliant. Thanks for those insights. And anyone else want to add on to that?
I think it's just, a matter of also being brave. So at Lego, we have what we call the leadership playground, which is curious, focused, and brave. And I think especially the brave part is what this is about, right? That we dare to do something different, and also dare to speak up. And again, it's just a matter of having the equal rights, right? Which I think actually already have to a really large extent at Lego, actually, that we can speak up and everybody's opinion is valuable. And that's just again a part of the Lego DNA and a part of the culture at Lego, which I really like, and the reason why also I am at Lego and not somewhere else, because Lego have these really great values that I can always adhere to when I'm in doubt. I can always return to the values, and that's how I often base my decisions. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know that we've just shared some chat. I think we've got some feedback from someone. I'm not sure. There we go. Perhaps it was Anna. She reconnects. Anna, do you think that you could, just for a moment when you answer the question, absolutely fine to come back on.
I have a little thing to add also to the challenge, brilliant. I think, because I also think I actually read, not that long ago, a leader that actually had an interview with a woman, and at the end, like she was getting the job, but then she felt like she had to tell her that she was pregnant. And I think we also, if we are pregnant, we can also challenge that thing, going to a job interview and getting it because of our skills. So I think that's also a good thing to challenge about, at least as a woman.
Yeah, and brilliant point to raise. We have got lots of questions, so sorry to stop that one, but I want to get so many of these questions answered from our audience. And we've got one here, which is, what inspired you to work in engineering? And that is from Joe. Thank you, Joe. So can we hand over perhaps, Anna, do you want to start this one?
Yeah, what inspired me? When I was in high school, I was working on my first year-long project where I was working with a sustainable energy device where I took a wind turbine and I put solar cells on it, and it was just to see what would happen, how much energy it would create with the solar cells spinning. And what got me into engineering was that experience, just testing it in my basement and then field testing it, and then I did really well with it, and so I won this trip to Costa Rica where I was doing things in the rainforest, and it was just there was so much opportunity by just making a small device, and there was so much opportunity in talking to people and getting input, and it just was fun. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, brilliant.
That's what got me in.
And nice that you went to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
As we're all probably wanting to go traveling at the moment.
Right.
So, anyone else want to share what inspired them to get into engineering?
Yeah, I can also elaborate a little bit on it, so I think my journey to engineering has been that in school, I was good at math, so for many people, and my parents and so on, asking, okay, so you need to be an engineer, but I think I was actually a little, scared of the thought being an engineer, and how would I do and so on. And my brother also wanted and is also an engineer. So I think you compare yourself often to people around you, and so and actually I wanted more to be in a kindergarten, taking care of the kids, and I investigated that education also together with the engineer. And I just think the fact that there are so many engineering educations today that can then be different. You can be a chemical engineer, you can be a design engineer or production engineer. I think the fact that we have so many offers today makes it more realistic for more people, and in terms of the Women International Day, also for women, right, to choose different engineering directions, which I think is just great, because now when I landed at Lego, I think that is actually the perfect compromise between working with kids and actually also being an engineer, because that was just my two favorite ones, but quite far from each other, right? Looking at both educations and then landing at Lego is just, that is just perfect for me. And I like the fact that it can be a more holistic engineering education you can take, and not only mechanical engineering.
Really nice to hear. And we've got another question that's actually got a lot of votes, and so it will be a good one to answer. And it is, what tip can you give to someone who wants to join engineering at the Lego Group? And that is from Anna. So thank you, Anna, for that question. Who'd like? Celia, go for it.
Yes, I would say, first apply. But beyond that obvious point, bring your personality. So, at Lego, we are looking at the right competencies in the right personality. And that's the full package that we're interested into. And I think that's becoming the popular saying, your brand is the combination of your brain and your personality. And that's really true. And that's really what we are looking for. So make it shine through your application as well. Very often I'm seeing that applications are maybe not as shined up that I would wish it to be. It's not necessary every time you have a motivation letter. Sometimes it's even the wrong language. So, actually make sure you get your application to the point, make it stand out. In my case, on one job posting, I would get 150 applications. So you need to stand out, but do that with your personality, because that's your best asset.
Absolutely. And coming from the talent team myself, I can also second what Celia just said. It's great to stand out, and we love to learn more about you on your CV that goes a little beyond just your experience.
Yes.
Anything to add to that? No? Okay.
No, I just I can only support it, that also hiring new people, a lot of things you can learn, the hard skills that is kind of easy to learn. But again, back to the Lego values, if you cannot see yourself in that, then that can be tricky. So I think it's about leaning in and showing you who you are, because that will define the match between you and the company, right? So I fully support Celia.
Mm-hmm. And character is so important to us at the Lego Group. We have a few more questions. So there's someone here saying, could you please give me some advice while applying for a materials specialist role at the Lego Group?
Yeah, maybe I can jump on that one as well. It's one of my direct colleagues who is actually hiring for that specific position. And actually, I would echo a bit what we've been saying. Make your application shine. Really look into the job ad that has been posted on what are the key points that we're looking for, and make that stand out in your application and in your motivation letter. I think that's really the critical part. Really look at what we are looking for and where you're a match, and make that stand out.
Brilliant.
And maybe, if you can, give a call. If there is a phone number, give a call. It always goes a super long way to give a call.
Thanks, Celia. We have another one. I'm not sure if you guys can answer this one, but it is, how can parents get their kids involved in user testing that the Lego Group does in the US?
I have no idea.
Oh. And no worries, whoever asked that, Payne's 14th, we will be trying to get questions answered after this session. Another one here, what advantages and disadvantages, if any, are there as an employee when you work as a woman at the Lego Group compared to other workplaces? And obviously not naming names of other workplaces here. It would be great to hear your thoughts on being a woman at the Lego Group? Yeah, Riga, did you want to take this one? I think you're on mute, Riga.
I'll unmute then. I think one of the great things is that at the Lego Group, you think about having it good at home as well as work, getting this fit together. And also as a mom, it's really nice because you can bring your children to work if they, for example, have some vacation, or in some roles you're also able to work from home, right? And you get the things at work, so it's so you're able to work from home. So having a family next to your job is very easy. I think that's one of the advantages. Disadvantages, I can't find any right now. I think it's a great job or place to work at.
Anna, have you got anything to add?
Also, it's hard to find disadvantages. I think the only thing, like in my team right now, we're about, I think it's 11 or 12, and there's only 2 females. And it's just unfortunate that there aren't more females, especially because additive manufacturing is such an exciting, interesting industry. And I guess the advantages are, there's so many advantages working for Lego. I think the big one is that, you have so much influence in your role if you want to set your own direction, and there's just so much opportunity to lead.
And we've got a comment here from Andrea, but more females are coming up, Anna. So yes, that is great. That is great to see. We have a question from Elizabeth, which is, do you all have any suggestions or tips on networking during COVID? Celia?
Yes, sure. So actually a lot of the official networks, because there are actually a few different companies that are organizing professional networks. And a lot of them, or actually most of them, have gone digital during the COVID time. So of course you can always join one of those network, find sort of the group that fits you and join them, and they actually do online meetings. They do a lot of online setup. That's one way to do it. For myself, I have a group of amazing women that are dear friends, all in actually quite advanced positions, and we've really made it a point to meet regularly online.
Nice. And Christina, I know you wanted to add something as well.
Yeah, I think that's just the fact that we are not, meeting face to face at the moment. So I think also the fact that it requires an extra effort maybe now to meet up, because at least what I can see from my side, that it's easier to just not do anything, and to not start the computer and meet with your friends or meet with whoever in general networks actually. But I think right now it just requires some extra to go and seek for these social things that can then build your network, no matter whether it's work related or personal, right? So it's just also to say that I think it's more of taking the responsibility yourself right now, and actually do it and start out something, either no matter what social media it is on, or more formal, business to network, as Celia is maybe alluding to. There are many forums that can be very useful here, and I'm also in different networks groups, and both across leadership or within element development or different areas, but also privately. So I think it's just a matter of getting started and find the ones that are also giving you the energy, right? But do make an effort yourself. I think that's actually the most important, right? To get up while we're at home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's actually probably a great time to be spending networking and finding answers to your questions around engineering. And we probably have time for one or two more questions. We've got one here that's coming from Alexia. How fun is it to work at the Lego Group? And perhaps we can go to Riga on this one.
Yes, it's really fun. I can't tell you how fun it is actually, because you get to play as long as you work and get some good competences. Yeah, so I think it's a really grateful place to be. Yeah.
It's a question that I think we all get a lot from our friends and family when we say we're working at Lego is how fun is it? Are you all playing with Lego all the time? And Christina, what would your answer be to how fun is it?
Yeah, I just think it's also important to mention that we have a play day besides COVID-19, but then we have a play day yearly where we meet up, all employees at Lego meet up to play one day a year. And I think that's just a quite clear signal of that we actually put it higher on the agenda, because besides this, we of course do a lot of playing in each department also, actually on a weekly basis, right? And also I think all of our, buildings and so on are also decorated. So we invite for play, there are bricks in all meeting rooms. There are, what do you call it, a roller coaster from first floor down to ground floor and so on. So there are so many opportunities for you to actually play. And we also, get some what we call test boxes where we can try and get it home and to just build. And are also allowed, as Rikke is saying, in exit office time, to try and build and get it in the hands and so on. So yeah, a lot of opportunity to have fun, and I think that's really important also personally to have fun each day. So
Of course, it's so important to have fun where you work. I mean, we spend the majority of our time at work and with our colleagues, right? And we've got a question here from Britt. If you have another engineering background than maybe the most common ones that you see at the Lego Group, for example, a mechanical engineering background, would candidates with these different engineering backgrounds still be relevant for some of the roles? Go for it, Celia.
Yes, and I can tell in my team I have, I think, at least 5 different engineering backgrounds. And that's the absolute beauty of the engineering organization in the Lego Group, is the number of competencies and engineering backgrounds and specialties is enormous. And that's simply because you cannot imagine what we're actually doing, from working with sensors to working on injection molding or additive manufacturing or electrical components or simulation. Like the chemistry in the material, it can be anything. So yes, every background has a place, I believe.
So we welcome your applications from all of these different engineering backgrounds. And Anna, did you want to build on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say I have a mechanical engineering degree. And also to echo Celia, in our team too, we must have 4 or 5 different types of engineers. Yeah, and there's so much opportunity too at Lego to build on your engineering skill if it isn't like specific to the role. Especially if we see someone that we know we really want to work with their general personality, we might just take you on and just develop that skill. Like I've learned a lot about AM just working in this role that I didn't previously. So yeah, that's all.
Brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. And I guess what would be nice to end up on, what would be quite interesting, and sorry to put you on the spot here, but perhaps you could each give us one word on how does it feel to be a woman in an engineering team at the Lego Group? Maybe we could start with Riga.
Joyful. Can I put some words to it, or?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm always happy when I go to work every day. And also that I know that people around the world will be happy for playing with the products I help out creating. So joyful, definitely.
Brilliant first word. Thanks, Riga. We'll pass on to Christina.
yeah, My word is actually just fun, simply fun, because I've always had the mantra, you could say, that I need to have fun every day at work, even though it can be really serious sometimes. In different situations, you always go out of the room, and still having fun, because you are colleagues, and you need to work together tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So I think that's just also what it's like at Lego. Every day, and it has to be right. So fun is just no matter man or woman, that's the same for all.
Great. And let's pass that baton to Anna.
Yeah, I was going to say holistic. Lego is really focused on developing the human, not just the product. So even I have, everyone has time allotted in our independent development plan where we're just focusing on things that we're interested in, how we want to develop personally, not necessarily related to our work. And there's just so much effort put into team building, and it's just really a 360 experience working for Lego, the Lego group.
Spot on, absolutely. Same for people in all their roles as well. And I guess final word from Celia.
No pressure, right? But yes, how does it feel to be a woman in engineering? Proud. I'm very proud. I can stand by everything the company is doing. I can stand behind every value. I can be proud to work for the #1 brand in the world. They contribute to my kids' development. They are, in many ways, I can stand behind the entire company every day. So I cannot be more proud.
Great word to end on, pride. I guess we all feel very proud to work at the Lego Group. And thank you guys so much for being here, for sharing your thoughts. Thanks for the people in the chat and the people asking questions. I will say goodbye to you now. So the speakers will start to disappear off screen.
Bye. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you so much. And that's it then. So that's a wrap on our second Say Hey To session. Thank you all for joining us today. Again, a huge thanks to our speakers. If you would like to learn more about the Lego Group and if you would like to explore our job opportunities, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Glassdoor. You can connect with us on socials at Official Lego Careers. And if you'd like to hear more of our stories about what it's like to work at the Lego Group, head over to our Behind the Bricks section on lego.com. And that's all from me. Thank you to everyone. Have a great day and take care.